When it comes to botanical medicine, knowing when to take a medicine is often as important as what you are taking. When it comes to the rhythms of life, timing is everything. We once lived by nature's laws. Heaven and earth were the great makers and destroyers. By the cycle of the sea, we harvested shellfish and set sail. By the seasonal flooding of rivers, we established civilizations. We mastered these rhythms in every step, every breath, every birth, and every death. This is how our ancestors traveled the world, overcame poisonous food, and prevented illness. It is how they strengthened themselves in their journey through life. They passed down this knowledge as a gift to us. It came from one voice to the next, carrying new experiences with each generation as it echoed through the ages. That was an excerpt from Enlighten Weight, Cultivate the Garden Within, written by our own Cho Shui-Lan, PhD, and yours truly. Get it for a friend, it's a great book. We live in a world governed by rhythms. Because of this, understanding context and timing is essential. It is unwise to think in such a way as to say, ginger is good for me, or ginger is bad for me, because the same substance may be harmful or beneficial depending on the time of day. You know this very well in certain contexts already. Coffee in the morning gives your day a kick. Coffee before bed may cause you to feel kicked the next day. This is the context with an herb we are all familiar with, so we can take this context, this sense, to other plant-based medicines as well. There is a time to gear up and a time to gear down. There's a time to open and a time to close. We can take a tip from looking at flowers. They open and expand in the day, and they close at night. Dogs will run around by day, and they curl up at night using their tails to cover their noses in the cold. Because foods and herbs can warm up and cool down the body, because they can energize or sedate, we must understand the lessons of nature and figure out what nature is trying to tell us if we are to adapt. It is said that ginger in the morning is a medicine that can cure 1,000 illnesses, while ginger before sleep is a poison. This is because of the effect that ginger has on the circulation and how it warms the gut. Ginger in the morning is helping us to open like a flower. But at night we want our blood circulation on the interior, so taking it at night can interfere with what the body is naturally trying to do. It's also said to take ginger in the summer and to take daikon, Japanese radish, in the winter. In the summer, our blood circulation goes to the exterior. There's comparatively less blood to help with digestion. By having ginger or mildly spicy foods, we can help the blood circulation to return to this area. Daikon, by contrast, is cooling for the interior, and it can help warm the surface of the skin, which is why it's taken in winter. In the morning, you can take ginger, and in the evening, take daikon or another herb or food that's cooling to the interior. If you don't have Chinese radish, you can use mint. So as general advice for digestion, if you have some fresh ginger tea in the morning, just slice up some ginger and boil it. It can greatly help to warm digestion. And then in the afternoon and evening, if you have something like hibiscus or lime that's a little bit cooling, it can help your body prepare to gear down at night. Timing is also essential for understanding when to harvest a certain herb. As we go through the year, plants must adapt just as we do. The chemical properties in a plant in winter will be different from those that you find in summer. As the plant adapts to heat and cold, as it adapts to wind or diseases in the air, the plant will change. It chemically changes, and as this chemical composition shifts, it means that there are certain times of year that the plant may be beneficial or even harmful, or that the benefits of that plant can change throughout the year. When we arrived in New Mexico, our car decided to break. It was a new climate, and it seemed to be overheating. We took it in, and a man named Tino was there from the Zia Pueblo. We got talking, and he invited us to an annual festival for giving thanks to animals who had been killed in the last year. While we were chilling out in his adobe house with his extended family, he made some tea. I don't remember the name, but it's an herb from the hills outside of Albuquerque. He said that the flavor of it changes based on the season when it's picked. This is normal with plants because of the adaptation that they must have to the weather. This is why certain plants must be picked at specific times of year and under specific conditions in order to have potency. Yin Chen Hao, a potent herb used to treat malaria, is great when picked in the 3rd month. In the 4th month, it's meh. By the 5th month, it's useful only as firewood. There are many herbs which are also named after the season that they should be picked. Xia Ku Cao is named after summer. Dong Kui Zi is named after winter. Qiu Sang Ye is autumn mulberry leaf, and it's to be picked in autumn. It's also said Sang Ye, before the frost, clears heat and detoxifies. It has more antibiotics and more antioxidants. This is because at this time of year it's very hot. With heat comes additional oxidation. The mulberry tree must cool itself down. It needs to get rid of some of that oxidation. Sangye, mulberry leaf, before the frost will clear heat and detoxify. After the frost, it will be more for internal organs, and it helps the liver and kidneys. At the time of the frost, the nutrients from the plant will already start to change. They'll start directing energy back to the interior of the tree. And what we find is the leaves have this ability with human beings as well. Use the stem of the mulberry tree in spring for arthritis. So during the springtime, everything is going up and out, it's increasing circulation. The fruit of the mulberry tree in summer is good for the kidneys. It generates fluid. In autumn, use the leaves. And in winter, the bark of the roots is good for night sweats, hot flashes, and edema. Just as this plant is changing throughout the year, it has attributes which can help us with different aspects of our health. So it's important to remember, if you're going to obtain some mulberry leaf or mulberries you see in an herb book, that you need mulberry twigs. If you get mulberry twigs, which are useful in spring when harvested for arthritis, and you harvest them in autumn or winter, they're going to be useless for this purpose. When it comes to gathering herbs, people go through extensive care to make sure that they get the exact time for harvest. There's a saying in Chinese, dig the roots in spring and autumn, pick the leaves in summer. In the last few weeks of July, workers wait by the fields for the mornings when the honghua, Chinese safflower, transitions between yellow and red. This is only a period of a couple of hours that they have this window, and only at this time does it have its maximum potency. And during that time, you can see these streaks go through the field as the color just gradually starts to change, and that's when they have to start picking. We find this concept wherever plant-based medicine has been recorded. Dr. Maria Iliotti was born in Greece and has a background in naturopathic and Chinese medicine. She is going to give us a perspective from Greco-Roman medicine 2,000 years ago.
Dioscurides was a Greek physician who had a particular interest in pharmaceuticals and the healing properties of plants and nature. He was also employed as a medic in the Roman army. Between 50 and 70 AD, Dioscurides wrote a 5-volume book, Periilias Iatricis, also known in the Western Europe more often by its Latin title, De Materia Medica. So first and foremost, in order of importance, is to pay proper attention to the storage and timely collection of each drug. For whether drugs are strong or weak depends strictly on whether the collection was made at the right time. One must assemble the material in clear weather. This, too, makes a great deal of difference. Was the collection made after a dry or rainy spell? As it does matter, whether the sites from which it was made are mountainous, high up, breezy, cold, or dry. For the properties of plants gathered from these places are strong. By contrast, the properties of plants growing on plains, wetlands, shady, or poorly aerated locations, on the whole, are weaker. And this is especially true of collections made out of season or that are decayed by reason of disease.
So as you can see, the world over, there's this idea that there's an optimum time for harvesting plants, and that based on when you harvest them, it can change the properties within them. It's also important to understand that as we go through the year, there are different flavors that we should be including in our diet so that we can adapt according to the seasons. As we transition through the year, there are certain flavors that we should aim for. In winter, generally speaking, it's good to have bitter flavors. In spring, aim for sour. In autumn, look for pungent. And in summer, look for something slightly salty. In winter, it's cold, and sweating is harder. It's easier to keep the salts in because there isn't much sweating. Because of this, people get water retention. As a result, we take bitter foods and teas to increase the heart contractility and increase circulation, and with that, sweating. Spring is windy as nature pushes sap and blood to the exterior. To keep this from going too far, we enjoy the sour flavor, which is astringent, to keep it in check. In summer, we sweat. It's easy to lose electrolytes. Because of this, we need to eat foods with a saltier nature to replenish. As mentioned before, this is an ideal time to eat mulberries. They're black, they are slightly salty, they help to alleviate thirst. In autumn, the winds cause blood to return to the interior. When this happens too quickly, it's easier to get a cold. We counter this with pungent or spicy foods to cause slight sweating. This is like bringing a little bit of spring or summer into autumn. This is a phenomenon my teacher calls turning the four seasons. To really understand timing and how you fit within the context of a year, it's great to go through episode number 8, How Breathing and Plant Flavors Influence Gasotransmitters. This is how the 4 movements of qi change according to the year. In winter, the energy of the earth enters and sinks. So why do we use a bitter flavor? Bitter flavors generally cause qi to rise up in order to sink. They also cool the interior to help warm the exterior of the body. Because the qi is going in and sinking, that can happen too much. It can be too cold, so we counter that coldness by increasing the heart rate. Bitter flavors tend to increase heart contractility. Spring causes the energy to go from entering to exiting. So we don't want this to happen too much. We try to rein it in by using sour flavors to retain the qi and not become drained. In summer, it's very easy to become drained. The qi rises, it's going up and out, it's very expansive. You can just think of a hot day, you're pouring sweat. You're losing electrolytes like crazy. So we counter this with naturally salty foods to replenish these minerals and electrolytes and cause qi to slightly enter and descend. This keeps us from getting heat stroke or manic rage. In autumn, qi ascends and pushes outward before drawing inward. As qi enters, as blood circulation enters in deeper into the body, it becomes easier for pathogens to enter. So we use pungent herbs to increase sweating and push them out. This is like having a little bit of a fever. Or you can think of it like taking a handful of that summer heat and bringing it as you enter into winter. This is what my teacher means by turning the seasons. By picking a plant from that particular season, saving it, and using it during another season, you can in effect take the advantages of that season and use the way the plants have adapted to that response and ingest it during another time of year to get the desired effect. This is really the heart and soul of botanical medicine. I want to thank everybody for your feedback, because based on your feedback, I'm adjusting the structure of the podcast. We're really doing our best to get relevant topics, so keep those questions coming. And remember to rate the podcast on Stitcher or iTunes, snap a picture of it, and then send it to us at botanicalbiohacking@gmail.com. Next week, we're going to draw for a botanical facial cream. If you want to know more about that facial cream, check out episode number 18 on the said subject. Also, at the end of the year, one name will be drawn out of this group to come with us to Sichuan to check out the herb fields, enjoy some herbal foot baths, spas, come hang out, party with Kung Fu masters, and do shots with herbal farmers. It's important because they send out the herbs all over the world, and they like to know the people who are receiving them. So if you've had a positive experience and you meet these guys, you can say, hey, Ahong, hey, Xiao Chen, thanks a lot for all that you do. Cheers, buddy, and you guys can have shots. It's culturally appropriate. It's kind of how you say thank you over there. And I love you, non-verbally.